What I wish I knew before starting homeschool. So I put together a big list and it kind of turned into a pros and cons list. And the list was so big that I decided to turn this into a two-part series. So today is the cons. And anyway, I thought about doing this and I was like, first of all, I want to say, like, I absolutely love homeschooling. This is the right decision for us. I wouldn't change it for the world. I plan on doing it for as long as my kids want to do it and we're able to do it and everything. But this is my cons video. So if you see me looking down a lot, it's my notes. So my first con, and I think a lot of people would agree, is the cost. So homeschool books can get really expensive, especially if you are piecing together curriculum. So you're doing like math from a company, language arts from a company, and then writing, and then art, and all these different things that we do, which I've explained in another video. It can get pretty expensive, and some curriculums are a lot more expensive than others. We do Logic of English, which we adore. We love it. It has helped my kids read, my 4-year-old's reading, my 7-year-old's reading. We really, really love it. But that is one of the spendier ones. So cost is a big option, or a big thing to think about when you're doing homeschool. The second one is a lot of researching. So we're still pretty new to this. We've been doing this for about a year. And we started off just doing like the good and the beautiful. Blanket, like, yes, sure, language arts, math, got it, done. And then it just didn't kind of feel like enough. It didn't feel like it was covering enough. And then the more research I did and the more YouTube videos I was watching of other homeschoolers, I realized that that isn't a great fit for us. And I guess it's just like there's so many options out there that you don't know about until you hear about them and kind of research them. So for me, I'm continually researching and looking into different curriculum that would fit our family and what we like to do. Number 3, there is kind of a fine line between teacher and mom. And I mean, your mom all day long and your teacher for homeschool. So there is that little bit of a line between like, okay, we have to actually sit down and listen. Like we can't just goof off and, be crazy like we are all day long with mom. We have to actually like sit and do our schoolwork. So that they do fine with it, but they're really young still. So it's kind of that like line there. So that's been a little bit challenging, but we're making it work. The next one for me would be there are a lot in homeschool. There's a lot of religious curriculum, and we are mostly a secular family. We did start out with the good and the beautiful, but we have since moved on to a more secular curriculum. But it is a little bit harder to find those. There are a lot of religious books, and even some of the neutral books tend to like lean a little bit more religiously, I think, and don't include some of those science things that some of the religion stuff might be against. So they call themselves neutral. So it is a little bit more challenging to find more of a secular homeschool material. So that is one of the challenges that we've kind of faced. And there are companies that are really religious, like the Matthew C stuff. The company's religious, but the Matthew C stuff doesn't have any religion in it. It's just the math book. So like there's ways around it, but it is a little bit more of a challenge. The next one for me would be needing to find play groups and ways to socialize, and kind of along with that, finding like-minded groups. So groups that believe in the same kind of things that you do. So kind of along the lines of like secular versus religion and stuff, there are different play groups for that and different mom groups. And a lot of times they can kind of merge together. And a lot of the groups say like, okay, yeah, like everybody's welcome. We just don't discuss all that stuff. So it's not impossible, but that is another thing to think about when doing homeschool, because you want your kids to socialize. You don't want to be the cliche of having kids that aren't socialized at all. So kind of our workaround with that is finding play groups in the area. And then also we do a once a week meetup and it's with kids in our age range. And every Thursday we go to like the science museum and the orchards and everything. And so they're getting that socialization there as well. So that's something to think about. The next one I kind of talked about a little bit earlier, but it's piecing curriculum together. And so you can do like a language arts program that covers a lot of it. But even those, I find they're just kind of trying to do too much. And so they're, your lesson has like a little bit of art, a little bit of writing, a little bit of language arts, a little bit of reading, and it just doesn't feel like it's enough, in my opinion. And so I've just kind of found that we do have to piece things together, which goes along with the researching and stuff. So you're kind of finding a reading program, a math program, a writing program, art, social studies, science, like a bunch of different programs. And every single day, we do our math, our language arts, our writing, our art, some other things I've explained in other videos. And then on a loop schedule, we kind of have our extra stuff. So like our science, our social studies, we do coding, anatomy, that kind of extra stuff. So that's kind of what we've done. My next one is we get a lot of questions and people not necessarily worried, but just kind of being like, are you sure? Like, are they going to be socialized? Are they going to make friends? So a lot of people kind of asking questions, and it makes you almost second guess yourself. Like, am I making the right decision? Like, I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this on the questioning. I mean, even from your spouse, just being like, how are they going to make friends? Like, are you going to be able to teach them? Are you going to have the time? So just a lot of that stuff. My next one is record keeping. So with homeschool, you do have to do a lot of record keeping and like keeping the books and their pages and like a record book of your own on everything that they've done, how many days a week you're doing school, how many days in the full year you've done school, their grades for the year, I guess kind of depending on their grade level. And then also, I don't know the rules in every state, but in my state, by age 7, you have to send a letter to your school district letting them know that we're homeschooling. So we have to do that every year. And then also testing every year to make sure they're learning at grade level. So it's a lot of that. The next one for me would be just kind of the feeling of overwhelm. You're their only teacher, and there's a lot to do, a lot of research to do to make sure you're buying the right curriculum and to make sure that you're doing all the right stuff. It can get overwhelming because you're the only one doing it. You're not sending them off on a bus to school, like it's you. So, it gets a little bit overwhelming sometimes. For me, the next one, and I kind of touched on this a little bit, is kind of just questioning yourself and making sure that this is the right decision for you. This is the right decision for your family as a whole, the right decision for each of your kids, and making sure this is something that you're committed to and that you can do and make sure your kids are learning. It can be heavy on your shoulders to make sure that you're making the right choice for everybody. The next one is testing things out and kind of finding your flow. And this one for me was one of the more challenging ones. I wanted to do too much, right? So like in a day, I wanted to do like 10, 15 books. I'm like, okay, we're going to learn this and this and this and this every single day. And it was too much, right? It was too much. So, and my kids let me know very, very quickly that it was too much. They were like, okay, after book 2, like we're done. And I mean, my kids are in kindergarten and first grade. So yes, that makes sense. We do a lot of outside play. We do a lot of grandma and grandpa house. We do a lot of arts and crafts and Legos and all that kind of thing. So we're doing a lot of other stuff during the day. And I think for me, I needed to learn to slow down a little bit and to not pack everything into a day, which is why we went to our schedule of like our math, writing, reading, phonics program, and then like a loop schedule of everything else. And so if we don't get to those, like if we don't get to our Monday one, we'll just do it again the next day. So we just loop those, and it has gone so much better, so much smoother. And so that's what's kind of worked for us. Another one that I think would be is having reluctant kids. And my kindergartner, he's still 4, he's almost 5, but he has since day one been like, I want to do my worksheets. I want to start doing math. Like, I want to do what brother's doing. I want to do the stuff. And so he's been like, go, go, go. I love doing this. I'll do 15 pages a day. And my first grader is a little bit different. He at first was very like, oh my gosh, we're doing school. I don't want to do this. Can we just do like one portion of the page and be done for the whole day? Like, he just did not want to do it at all. And so it took a couple weeks for him to get the hang of our schedule, to be like, okay, yeah, this isn't so bad. Like, we just do our stuff and then we're done. Like, sometimes we take a break in between. And so that kind of learning their style there and getting used to our schedule, is a little bit different, but we got there. My next one is being tuned into your kids' learning styles. So kind of like where they need more help, where they're really excelling, which goes along with switching curriculum, which can get expensive. And we are definitely guilty of switching curriculums kind of a lot in the beginning just to kind of find what worked. I mean, math was probably our biggest one. We started out with like the good and the beautiful math, and then we went to math UC, and then math with confidence. And part of it was me not really knowing what I was doing and not really knowing how to do a book that wasn't open and go. But we landed on Singapore Math Dimensions, and we absolutely love that. Both my kids are doing it. Both of them are excelling in math really, really well. So that's what we ended up doing. But like learning your kids' learning styles, and if they excel in mastery based, or they excel in like learning different parts of things and stuff like that, and just seeing what fits for them, can be a challenge. You're not in school, you're not the teacher, but like you're here with them and you're seeing them do it every single day. And, you have to recognize, where they're at and what's working for them. So that can be, a little bit challenging sometimes. Another one, which is a lot of these can be pros and cons, right? Like what I just said, it is definitely a pro to see where your kids are excelling and needing extra help, because then you can do it and help them get to the next level. But it's a little bit challenging to be able to recognize that. So a lot of these are pros and cons. My next one, for me, definitely a pro and con. We don't really have, as parents, a lot of breaks or free time. So I also work a full-time job, and it's pretty flexible. So, and I work from home, so I'm able to make it work just fine. It's busy, but I'm able to make it work just fine. You don't get a lot of breaks or free time, like with other kids that get on the bus at 7 a.m. and don't get home till 3 or 4 p.m. You're on the clock all the time. And I have a 7-year-old, 4-year-old, and a 7-month-old, and working my full-time job. And so I'm always here. I'm always on call. I'm always mom. They come into my office all hours of the day asking for help. My 7-month-old is still exclusively breastfeeding. And so I feed him and put him down for a nap every 2 hours. And I guess that's not really along with homeschool, but it does kind of go hand in hand with just like your mom all the time. You're always on call, and that can be a little bit challenging. Free time comes at bedtime and you have to make the most of it. So plus and minus, pro and con. My next one is you have to be very disciplined to stay on track. And this is one, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. And so for me, I'm like, okay, we're going to do our school 6 days a week. And, we're going to do all of our books, and we're going to make sure we're here. And like, I want my kids to be able to be at grade level or better, like we all do. But it's a little bit hard to stay on track sometimes. And It's summer right now here in Minnesota, and so all the public schools are out for the summer, and we do still school throughout the summer. We don't take breaks for the summer. However, we do take random 1 week breaks here and there. Like somebody's sick, we'll take a break for a couple days. This last week, it was just sunny outside for the first time in like a week. We had a whole week of storms, and then it was sunny for a full week. So we took a full week break from school because we can. They're excelling where they're at right now. And we're doing it throughout summer. So why not? We can afford a week or two here and there. So yeah, plus or minus. Like you can take weeks off when you want, but you have to make sure that you're on schedule and you're going to be able to test where we need to test and everything like that. So it does involve discipline. And my last one is, it's relevant. It's for us homeschooling with a baby. And I think a lot of other moms are homeschooling with younger children or babies. And so that for us is a little bit of a scheduling challenge. I have to make sure my husband also works from home. So I have to make sure he doesn't have meetings at certain times and he can take the baby while we're doing our school and focusing. Sometimes I am able to do school with the baby while he's playing with toys and stuff, but then the older kids just want to play with the baby. And so we're focusing, but we're also playing. And so it just takes a little bit longer to do the school. And grandma and grandpa do daycare for us 4 days a week. So that definitely does help with our schooling. But a lot of times during that time, I'm doing my full-time job. And so, we're working on fitting everything in. And we do it and we love it, but it is a little bit hard sometimes with the baby and the job and the schooling and fitting everything in one day, every day, right? But I do just want to say it is 100 million% worth it. I am so thankful I get to homeschool my kids. I am so happy. I love doing it. I love doing the research on it. I love watching YouTube videos of other moms and what they like. I love, for better or worse for my wallet, I love buying new curriculum and unboxing and seeing it and like, oh, I get so excited about it. And I love seeing my kids every single day. I really, really do. I love that they're not going off and sitting 40 hours a week in the classroom. I love that they're here with me and we can play and do whatever we want. So I know this is a cons video, but just to make sure, like, I love homeschooling, wouldn't change it for the world, plan to do it for as long as I possibly can. So yeah, hopefully it's helpful. I'm going to do a part 2 pretty soon on like the whole list of pros. So my lists were too long and split them up, but I'll do the pros soon.